Ki khubor ka Batisi TV. Lawan Rashapi da ka Frank Motors. The dark is here to rule.
Ka IZ Group of Institution Bangalore, kadai ke college babhatam nagabanta ka jingkuli nursing but paramedical course, hospital training, pinyo scholarship but 6% ka kam, haki hospital bahedo India but shabari. Nabanta ka jingkuli ka jingsiyo ka barit but pila ban legu ban kuli da ka education loan. Pila ruban syukola ho number kandai nyo saw san riu pranot. Lani kandai pran riu laisan, arn riu kandai pra.
Hatu pikwa bagi janjong pikin kuit bha benar kam daka Oswell su hila banyo na barok kidukan
Ka Press Information Bureau Shillong haka khandro trik julia arza apulai kala pelong ya vartalap media workshop bat ke exhibition halor ki khandai Snem jong seva sushasan bat garib kalian kum katak jong jingdap khandai Snem jong Sorkar balai lam do menteri rangbado Narendra Modi ulat kejala megalaya upagu chauhan ulai shimanta hagani vartalap kumu kongsan hakabawala pensyai bagi laitli kentien seva sushasan bat garib kalian ki batai shphang kejingya linti hakini ki khandai Snem jong Sorkar Narendra Modi hakini kejingya lang lai shimanta lang do commissioner and secretary katnat planning Sorkar Meghalaya Joram Beda u air marshal SP Dharkar ubulong air officer commanding in chief jong Eastern Air Command ka economic advisor jong North Eastern Council ka Sherry Lal Thangzo. Hakani kasi ladan gibenta jong kajing ajing tip halor kanesa do director USP Agarwal ka backward block ka Nercom bat ke indigenous habitat.
The traditional shawl called rindia and with the mantle. Now we'll felicitate Padma Shri Srimati Patricia Mukim, editor.
आज हमारे देश की जनसंख्या पूरे देश में पूरे विश्व में सबसे ज्यादा है. We are the most populous country in the world today. इसमें से करीब 25 करोड़, almost 25 crore out of this entire population is that of the youth, which means that is what is our national strength. It is our strength that we can take across both in terms of development, both in terms of rising as a world power, and both in terms of improving the quality of life and the aspiration and meeting the aspirations of that entire population of ours. Of course, you've heard all about the various schemes that the government has put in place in order to work towards this. And of course, as what is expected to be happening in these next 25 years as we run up to the first centenary of our freedom. Importantly, I would like to touch upon what the armed forces are doing in this regard and how this large youthful population that we have could go on and contribute towards making India have its rightful place in the Comity of Nations. And for that I'll talk about three issues. The first, of course, is various initiatives that have been taking place about education, about skilling and skill development, about new initiatives for developing entrepreneurship and making opportunities available to our large population. But within that, one major portion also in terms of both an avenue for employment as also an avenue for nation building as well as nation support comes from the armed forces. We heard about the population that exists in the northeastern states. And the armed forces are one that recognize no such divisions across the country. The armed forces have one culture, that is the culture of our uniform. And when we come into that particular culture, it doesn't matter where we come from. I, for one, I'm from the western portion of India. I have served in the northeast for some time. I've been in the eastern portion of India for some time, and I've almost spent a third of my career in the armed forces here. In the same manner, the armed forces do not recognize any other culture other than being Indian. And when you take that forward, it is for the greater good for the country as a whole that we find that whether you join the armed forces in whatever rank or part of the strata, that particular emphasis, that particular uniqueness, and that particular union makes us different largely from the rest of various portions of our country which recognize different cultures, backgrounds, and ways of life. The role of the armed forces, whether it is in nation building, it is in terms of assisting in infrastructure development, whether it is assisting in ecology and environmental practices and improving upon those, whether it is upon assistance during natural calamities. I'm sure I need not duplicate or bring out to anybody here in the audience. We are all well aware and more than well aware of that. But lately what has also been changing and adding to that is that some of the new mechanisms that we have had or we have introduced in order how to improve upon or expand the role of what we can have in inductees into the armed forces will also assist in further nation building in the manner in which we will induct people, utilize their services for some amount of time, and then help them to develop their skills and move on into other domains wherein they will continue to contribute as also merge with the rest of the population and expand upon this idea of a unique India.
भारत सरकार के सेवा सुशासन गरीब कल्याण के 9 वर्ष पूरा होने के लक्ष्य में भारत सरकार द्वारा मेघालय सरकार के अधिकारियों सहित मीडिया कर्मियों के बीच उपस्थित होकर सरकार की पहल और देश हित के लिए किए गए प्रयासों का उल्लेख करते हुए मुझे बेहद प्रसन्नता हो रही है कि सरकार को 9 वर्षों की यात्रा को परिभाषित करते हैं अपनी अनूठी संस्कृति और गतिशील लोगों के साथ पूर्वोत्तर क्षेत्र प्रगति अभूतपूर्व प्रोग्रेस देख रहा है। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट से लेकर बेहतर इन्फेक्टिव तक इस क्षेत्र की अपार संभावनाओं को खोल रहा है। इन वर्षों में नॉर्थ ईस्ट क्षेत्र में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को बड़े पैमाने पर बढ़ावा मिला है, जिससे लोगों को जीवन स्तर में काफ़ी सुधार हो रहा है। इससे हमारे मेघालय राज्य ने भी इन वर्षों के दौरान महत्वपूर्ण प्रगति की है और मैं सभी क्षेत्रों में एक विकसित राष्ट्र के प्रधानमंत्री के दृष्टिकोण के आगे बढ़ाने के लिए राज्य सरकार सराहना करता हूँ। इन 9 सालों में देश में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट के लिए अभूतपूर्व स्पीड और स्केल का काम किया जा रहा है। देश में पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट ट्रांजिट सेक्टर एवं पूरी तरह से कार्यरत हो रहा है। 9 साल समावेश प्रगतिशील और टिकाऊ विकास लाने के लिए सरकार पूरी तरह से समर्पित।
Over the years, I think we ourselves, as citizens, have been reduced to citizens that are incapable of thinking for ourselves, by ourselves. We always need government to tell us, do this and do that. And this includes even managing our waste, managing our garbage. Why does government have to tell us how to manage our garbage? I think common sense should tell us that. And now we have to be told that throwing garbage into the rivers will ultimately kill us humans, because one day there will be no more rivers to feed us. And our rivers might not be able to deal with the toxic substance that we throw into it, especially, rotten garbage gives out methane gas. How much of that can we take? And we have to understand that the river is life. If the rivers dry up, our lives will dry up. So it's difficult to understand why our education system has not taught us this symbiotic relation between us and nature. Why do we think that we are outside the environment and that we are something else? I think this is what makes us pollute and have that couldn't care less attitude about the consequences of polluting rivers, of cutting down trees, and above all, depriving our wildlife of their habitat. I hope we can spend a little time also thinking about that. In the end, when we talk about why we are cutting down trees, why we are quarrying where we should not, then the excuse is livelihoods. How can we continue to have destructive livelihoods? In Meghalaya, do we still need to produce charcoal? We know that the Ujjwala scheme was launched with the intention of preventing people, housewives, from using firewood. But how is that scheme working out at the last village? There is no one to supply LPG in the villages. And LPG anyway has become too expensive for the poor to afford. So it's a scheme that has not worked. I hope that the government will review this scheme, and those that are in power, I hope, will communicate this to the government of India, so that every time you have a scheme, you also ensure that it works in the different terrains of this country. We are a diverse country. Topographically, it's a difficult country to manage. So we need to be looking at this. This region is also known to be a biodiversity hotspot, and it has 825 listed medicinal plants. And I know for a fact that if there is one institution that is working well, it is the Botanical Survey of India. They have been working very effectively to ensure the survival of plants like the Taxus baccata, which we have here in plenty. In Khasi we call it Dingblay. We know that this tree has cancer-fighting properties. It is used to produce anti-cancer medicines. We also have other medicinal plants which we need to popularize and which we need to teach our young ones to preserve. So early education, instilling values in young kids, is perhaps the only way to stop the rapid degradation of our environment. In the 9 years of the Modi government, there might have been several steps taken for environmental sustainability. But as concerned citizens, we ask that environmental clearances for projects be made more stringent in the northeastern region. We cannot afford to just cut down trees. We are seeing what's happening on the Shillong-Dauki road at Panursla. Every time that place is having serious landslides, even lives have been lost. So if we don't stop thinking for a while what we are doing to the environment will kill us.